Hey friends, so we have the we've got the DC-3 standing up. Finally, the wing is attached. It looks pretty square, straight, and in the right position as far as I can tell. The only real kind of reference points you have are the centerline keel of the fuselage and the center line of the wing. Yeah. So you just try to line both of those things up best you can, and then check it, against well, something square. And for instance, in this image, if you look at the leading edge of the wing between the engine nacelles, and that's lined up on the window frame, and then you look at the fuselage and see that the nose of the fuselage is also in line with that part of the window frame running laterally, and what you should have is a nice 90-degree angle between the fuselage. And if you look right down on top of this rib, you can see looks like we got a good 90-degree angle there, which is important. And then when you sight down from the nose to tail, and you want to see that the rudder is vertical, best as it can be. And in this view, you would probably line it up with the wall stud you can barely sort of see. I use the lofting table and stand the airplane up, and I'll show you that in a second, I think, if I can move things around enough. But you want to look down and sight down the length of it and check that you've got parallel lines between, again, the center section leading edge, which is non-dihedral, it's just straight and flat, and the elevator and horizontal stabilizer at the back of the airplane, and they should line up and be flat and parallel to each other. So looks like we've got that. So I'm going to call it good as far as wing alignment to the fuselage. And it's a process, you come up with whatever methods you want. Some fellows will build kind of an elaborate jig. I don't do the jigs. What I do, and I'll show you here, is when I'm gluing these on, there's multiple contact points for the adhesive, but there's really only two different sets to pay attention to. The first set is the cradle, and on the cradle of the airplane, which is in that fuselage area inside the fuselage, that I spread a liberal amount of woodworking white glue, and then these 2 points here on the underside of the fuselage, the leading edge where it joins to the fuselage and the trailing edge where it joins to the fuselage. And for those, that's where the super glue, because it's so super, that's where you put the super glue. So first thing you do is wet the cradle with the woodworking glue, and then you maneuver the wing and so forth around until you've got your reference datum, your data points lined up how you want them, and you kind of get a good grip on that wing and hold it down more or less like this. And then you wet both the trailing edge connector and the leading edge connection here with that super glue, keeping that wing pinned in the proper position. So once that's done, you've got the wing now connected to the airplane, it's lined up. The wet glue, white woodworking wet glue, will cure slowly and create that good bond under the wing. And then your super glue obviously is going to continue to hold and keep the wing pinned in place fore and aft. Anyway, that's kind of how I do it. And it might sound tricky or chancy or dicey, and maybe it is, but I've had pretty good luck with wing alignments and tail alignments for that matter over the course of many builds. So I'm just going to keep going with my method, which is almost no method at all. But it works, it works. So what do we do now? We're going to let the glue cure fully. You know, the super glue is not going anywhere. The wing's not going to move or get janked around, but I just want that woodworking glue, the white glue, in there to dry. And then we're going to set about the task of plugging these holes on both sides. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to use a 3/32 material, the same stuff I used to infill the airplane. And I'm just going to cut it, you know, to these shapes and fill these gaps. I'll probably wet the wood once I get them cut to size, and just gently radius that piece. This can go in flat, and this one just needs a gentle little persuasion on the front edge here. Just a little radius on it. And when we do that again, I don't know if you've seen me radius the balsa, but you soak it in water, the piece that's cut to the final size. You test fit it, make sure it fits, and then you wet it, and you just kind of wrap it around a wood dowel, and you can hold it, you know, just using hand pressure, and you know, give it a minute, you know, it doesn't take any more than that, and you get that nice radius curve to the lengthwise profile of your infill piece. And then test fit again, and it should go right in and conform. It's not real critical how these fit. They're really just going to be filler dams. They're just going to prevent filler from squeezing, you know, in there. All they need to do is make sure that they're flush with the airplane, so they don't interfere with the fillets that I'm going to make. I don't think I'm going to end up using that plastic. I'm just going to cut one out best I can and see how it fits and take a good look at it. What I'll probably just do, though, is I'll use them as templates. I'll use one as a template. So I'll cut a length of tape to match this edge, and then I'll tape that onto the wing that tracks that line, right? It'll track this line onto the wing, and then I'll take another piece of tape, and once I've drawn, so I'll hold it up to the airplane like a template, draw that black line on there, whatever this line is, lined up with the leading and trailing edge, and then I'll cut a piece of tape and tape that, and that'll mask off the filler, that'll mask off the spackle, and then we'll just start going to town with the spackle into that gap. There is a fillet that goes onto the trailing edge of the wing, and that's this piece here. So these go onto the wing roughly like so. Let me think. Is that out? No, they go, there we go. They go like this onto the wing, and that creates the back edge of the wing fairing, right? So this line is going to come all the way, this line here is going to come all the way out to this edge of this part, right? I think that's how that goes. Hang on. No, that's wrong. Hold on. Is it this? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. It's like this. We'll get it right when we go to put it on the airplane, and make sure that we have this in the correct orientation and so forth. But anyway, that's what that part is. And if it doesn't fit, and I'm concerned, you know, about how that looks, because if you look here, let me do this real quick. How do I clear this off? All right. So if we look here, and you can see how this comes off the trailing edge of the wing. This is the wing as it sits on the airplane right now, going straight across the fuselage. This fillet comes back pretty far back, and then here's the fairing joining onto the top of that fillet, and then running up from, you know, this width of the wing and then this height of the fuselage, right? So you can see that this fillet looks a bit larger than what I've got over there, and it's cut a bit differently, and I'll probably just replace that kit piece with a section of the birch ply, which is what I usually do when I make these wing fillets and fairings. So let's let's plan on that, and I'll do a video on how we're going to get there. Right. So anyway, this is where we're at on the project. The airplane is finally standing. I don't have the tail wheel in. It really needs to be glued in for it to stay. Where did it get off to? Here it is. So as soon as I get to the point, and obviously I don't have the trailing arms onto the landing gear yet either. I just stuck in the main landing gear legs, as you see here. Right, that's how that looks. You can see it's just about the right extension from the wheel well, the visible part of the wheel well. This is where it should be. This is what I wanted it to look like, and this is where it is. Okay, so making the gear just a little bit, I don't know, but not really making it longer. What I did was I blocked at the top inside of the wing so that they wouldn't recess all the way to the roof of the wing. They go up about halfway into the wing, so there's like a stopper basically. So I didn't make these longer, I just prevented them from being inserted fully into the wing, if that makes sense. So that's what we did there. All right, that's the current stage of our Guillow DC-3 build, and I'll be back later with more.